Hi everyone, my name is Rachel and I'll be your instructor today for stretch and mobility. Today we're going to not only find some mobility in our bodies, but also have a gratitude focus at the end of our session today. Let's go ahead and lay down on the ground, flat on our backs, hands by our sides, knees bent. And we're going to start by finding our breath today. I'm going to take a deep breath into the belly, expanding the rib cage, and breathing out, drawing our belly in first. And as you breathe, you're going to start thinking about what we're grateful for today. This can be family, this could be a job, this could be material items. Anything that you find yourself grateful for. Keeping that in mind, we're going to warm up our bodies a little bit before we stretch. With my knees bent, I'm going to drop my legs to the ground only as far as I can without arching in my lower back. I really want to focus on pushing my lower back into the ground here. You should feel that activation in your abs as you do this. Alternating legs, almost like there's a tennis ball behind my knees, keeping that bend in the legs. Keeping our lower back pressed, and breathe. Last few here. And bring your legs down. Bringing my legs up close to me here. I'm going to put weight in my heels and in my hands with my fingers pointed away from me. And we're going to lift our hips up to the ceiling, back flat, and dropping our hips back down. Should feel some activation in our glutes, also known as our butt muscles. A few more here, just enough to get warm. And relax. Bringing ourselves over into a tabletop position next. I'm going to have my shoulders right over my wrists, my hips over my knees. Remember, you can always come down to child's pose at any point today if you need to rest or if something doesn't quite feel right for you. Starting in our tabletop position, I'm going to roll my shoulders back to arch and tuck my tail to round, allowing my head to relax, pushing my hands into the ground. At your own pace, rolling the shoulders back to arch and tucking the tail to round. Last one. And sitting back, coming up onto our knees, bringing one foot forward. Be sure to bring a pillow under that back knee if you need a little extra support, if you're on a harder surface. Be sure to neutralize our spine. We don't want to be arching here. Bringing our belly in as we stretch the front of that back hip. Leaning onto our front leg, our chest is up. Making sure we feel that stretch throughout that hip. And deep breath in and out. Next, we're going to lean onto that front leg, dropping our hands down to our thigh. And with a flexed foot, we're going to pick our heel up and bring it towards us. Now you can stay in this stretch right here. You should feel it in the front of that back leg, in our quad muscles. And optional, to deepen the stretch, you can reach back and grab for your heel. And breathe, inviting that tension in. Finding that point of tension and never pain, right? So making sure you're honoring where your body is at today. And go ahead and release your leg down, sitting your hips back, straightening that front leg. You can have textbooks or some blocks by you for support. A chair or a wall also works really well. So we want to be careful when we're stretching our hamstrings. We're going to go hands on the hips and flex and point that front foot nice and slow at your own pace. Hands on the hips or using that chair, wall, or blocks for support. And breathing through that tension, finding that hinge point where you feel that stretch, just that slight pull. If you want to deepen the stretch, you can bring your hands all the way to the ground or on those books or blocks. Go ahead and sit up. We're going to switch legs, leaning forward into our hip flexor stretch. Making sure our belly is pulled in, neutral spine, and leaning as much as you need to on that front leg to feel that stretch. And breathe in and out through that tension. Go ahead and lean onto your front leg and bringing our back heel flexed behind us for that quad stretch. Hold there, or optional, reaching back for that heel if you want to deepen the stretch. Hold and breathe. And go ahead and release that leg down, sitting our hips back for our hamstring stretch. Finding your support, whether it's the wall, blocks, or hands on the hips. And flex and point that front foot at your own pace. And go ahead and bring your feet back onto your knees here. We're going to tuck our toes up into a plank position, lower our chest all the way to the ground, untuck our toes, and we're going to peel our shoulders back to lift our chest off the ground. Now making sure I'm squeezing my glutes here in order to not put too much pressure on that lower back. We really want to be focusing on keeping those shoulders down and feeling that arch in our upper back. And press back up. And untuck your toes for downward dog. Let your head relax between your arms as we feel that stretch in our hamstrings and the strength in our shoulders. Option to pedal the feet for a little extra calf stretch, or you can hold that down dog position. Next, we're going to pull our belly in, tuck our tail, and lower into a plank position, bringing our chest all the way to the ground. Untuck the toes, peel the chest up into our arch. And go half cobra or press your hands into the ground for full cobra, keeping those glutes engaged. And breathe. And lower your chest back down and find your way back to the down dog position. And we're going to bend at our knees, either jump or walk our feet up to our hands. And we're going to round our back, slowly rolling up to a standing position, vertebra by vertebra, rolling our shoulders back and down. Next, we're going to take a long lunge back. Neutral spine, feeling that stretch in that back hip. Our arms are up, our hips are pointed forward. And hold and breathe. Keeping our belly pulled in. Playing with that bend in our knee to deepen the stretch. Next, you're going to pivot your back foot, opening up your hips here to the side wall, dropping that front arm down to the front thigh. We're going to side stretch as we rotate in our shoulders, bending your arm as much as you need to. Remember, you should never feel pain here. Everyone's shoulder mobility is different. Honor where your body's at today as you rotate forward. And go ahead and rotate back. Next, we're going to lean that arm over top of our head for that side stretch. And at your own pace, you're going to drop your chest to the ground and up to the ceiling, feeling how that changes the stretch in our back and in our side body and our chest. And follow the change of direction with your gaze. And go ahead and relax that arm down. Coming back up to our side position, we're going to pivot our back foot back forward for one last hip stretch. Bringing our arms in front of us, across that front leg, and we're going to twist and come back to center. Nice and slow. At your own pace, feeling a little rotation in our spine while we stretch that hip. Last one, and step back together and shake it out a little bit. And long lunge back on the other side, bringing those arms up. Neutral spine. You might bend a little in that back knee if it helps keep your back flat. We're as wide as we need to be in our feet. We're as bent in our front leg as we need to be. Finding that spot where you feel that stretch in that back hip. And go ahead and pivot that back foot to the side wall, opening up the hips. Front arm down on the front leg and rotating our arm forward. Arm circles, bending that arm as much as you need to, and rotate back. And reaching that arm overhead for that side stretch. Rotating your chest towards the ground and up to the sky, just as much as it feels right for you. And go ahead and come back to that side position, pivoting our foot back forward, crossing our arms in front and taking that twist across our front leg and back to center at your own pace. And bring your arms back up for one last stretch and bring your feet together and shake it out. Next, we're going to adjust our feet about shoulder width apart in a squat position here. And I'm going to press my hands together in front of my chest, feeling that activation in our shoulder blades, our shoulders, while we keep our chest up. I'm going to squat down as low as I can in a squat, honoring where your body's at. Stop at that point that's right for you. Then drop the hands, lift the hips, rounding our spine to roll back up. Doing it again, pressing our hands together as we slowly lower into that squat. Shifting weight back onto the heels of our feet. Hold, drop the hands, lift the hips, and slowly roll back up. Press the hands together, slowly lower down into that squat. As low as it's right for you, drop the hands, lift the hips, roll back up. 2 more here, pushing our hands together, lower down, slow. As low as you can, keep those knees in line with your toes. Breathe. Drop the hands, lift the hips, and roll back up. All right. And rolling the wrists out here, both directions. And we're going to take a forearm stretch with some gentle pressure with our opposite hand onto our fingers in order to stretch out that forearm. And go ahead and bring your fist towards you as you pull gently with the opposite hand for the other side. Holding for about a second before you switch back and forth. Next, we're going to bring our shoulders up to our ears and then pulling them down our back. Actively pulling them down our back, not just dropping our shoulders, but we want to feel that tension in our shoulder blades, feel our chest push out as we pull our shoulders down our back. Practicing that postural stance. At your own pace, up and down, and roll them out a little bit. Tilt your left ear to left shoulder and right ear to right shoulder. Holding for about a second before you switch back and forth. Keeping our chest nice and tall. We're going to look over our right shoulder, hold for about a second, and look over the left. Back and forth at your own pace. And going for half circles, left ear to left shoulder, right ear to right shoulder. You can go full circles here. If you do, make sure you keep some space behind your neck. We don't want to drop our head all the way to our back. Keep some space in the back of the neck if you go for a full circle. Starting with one direction here. And go ahead and switch. And roll those shoulders out. And one last stretch on our forearms here. Next, we're going to work on some hamstrings and shoulder mobility. As we walk our hands down our legs, we're going to walk all the way out into a plank position, dropping our hips up and then lifting our hips as we walk our hands back to our feet, bending our knees as much as we need to. We're going to walk in and out of this position at your own pace. Feel free to drop your knees at any time if you need a little extra support. Walking out and in. Couple more here. And then we're going to walk back and tuck our hands underneath our toes as we bend and straighten just enough to feel some tension on the back of those hamstrings. Bend and straighten at your own pace. And then walk the hands out all the way into a plank. Slowly lower your chest all the way to the ground. Roll those shoulders back to arch. Half cobra or full cobra. Take a breath. And lower your chest all the way back down. Tuck your toes and find your way back to down dog. And pedaling our feet. And breathe, relaxing your head between your hands. And tuck our tail, roll forward into a plank, lowering our chest all the way to the ground. Untucking our toes, peeling our chest off the ground. Take a breath. Lifting our toes here for a little extra glute work before we lower our chest back down, and downward dog. And tuck the tail, rolling forward into plank. Lower the chest to the ground. Tuck the toes, peel the chest up for cobra. Lifting the heels here. Trying to keep those heels lifted as we go into our cobra, and breathe. And lower your chest back down to the floor, and we're going to move into a quad stretch next. So I'm going to lean onto my side here. And I'm going to be either resting down with my head in my hand or up with my elbow right under my shoulder as I reach back for that top ankle. Keeping my foot flexed. I want to feel that stretch in the front of my quad of that top leg. And relaxing down and breathe, pushing your hip forward. Make sure that heel stays flexed. Finding that point of tension and breathe through it. Go ahead and release and move over onto your other side. Reaching for that back heel and find that point of tension. Deep breath in and out. Go ahead and release. All right, and we're going to bring ourselves into child's pose here with our knees apart, sitting back on our heels, walking our hands to the ground and resting our forehead down. Now while we're in this pose, I want you to bring your mind back to what you're grateful for today. And as you breathe, let that gratitude fill you up. Deep breath in and out. And we're going to switch our focus here a little bit, because often when we think of gratitude, we think of something external. person, place, or thing. And we're going to bring our gratitude to something internal. We're going to thank ourselves for taking care of our body today. We're going to thank our body for what it's able to do for us. The ability to stretch, the ability to move, how it keeps us healthy, keeps us functioning. Sometimes when we think of our bodies, we think of what we want to change or improve upon. But today we're going to bring our focus to what we appreciate about our bodies. And as you breathe in, fill yourself with the gratitude for your body's ability to move and function. And deep breath out. And when you're ready, find yourself back up in a seated position. Thank you so much for joining me today, everyone. I hope you feel filled with gratitude and mobilization in your body. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay connected, and I'll see you next time.